Alrighty, everybody. So I've seen a few comments on wanting an update on my Inframe rebuild. I have a few quirks I have to work out with it, but other than that, it's still running just fine. So one thing you gotta understand, I'm gonna say right now, is the timeline of this engine. When I did that rebuild, that was roughly by the date today, which is January 10th? No, 11th. I don't even remember. It's Saturday in January 2019. When I did this motor, it was the first thing I did to this whole Jeep, and that was roughly a year, maybe a year and a quarter ago. I'm trying to remember. I think the last video I put this of this engine running out when after I did the rebuild was May of 2017. So roughly last winter, so roughly a year, this engine was rebuilt. And from that year, it sat for most of the time because I was doing front suspension, front axle, rear suspension, rear axle, the whole suspension, everything you could possibly think of doing at that time. So this engine sat, maybe idled for a little bit, ran maybe 15 minutes out of like 3 months, 4 months. It didn't run very much. So it sat for most of the time up until the point of, I think, 2 months ago. I started driving it and noticing the transfer case driveline issues. That will be in a separate video, but I pretty much got that all straightened out for now, and it drives just fine, other than it's got poor fuel mileage at 13 miles of the gallon. So the quirks that I have with this motor is, one, it likes to run hot. In the wintertime it's not that bad if you're moving. Sitting, it likes to creep up. I think the water pump impeller wheels rotted out due to the coolant that was in this was like rust colored mud. Like, you could see it. It wasn't, you can't really see it. That's green in there, but it was like rust colored dirt mud. I'm thinking the impeller wheel, since it's stamped steel, is rotted away in that original water pump. It's pumping some, but not everything. Two, the heater core is partially plugged because I got okay heat if you don't leave the blower on full blast, and it does enough just to defrost the windshield. I think I need to back flush that heater core. Three, I had the infamous vapor lock injector problem, or the heat problem that vapor locks these injectors up here. This is a kit that I bought off Amazon. It's this. You can see. It gives you everything you need to actually do it. It gives you the stock heat shield. Then it gives you a sleeve to wrap around the fuel rail and then wrap around each injector. That's pretty much solved my heat soak problem. I don't have the heat soak problem even now with winter anymore. It was for 4 and 5, kept heat soaking them to where it would misfire on them. You rev it a few times and it'll clear out. Heat soak problem is gone. I did have to replace these front 3 connectors because they broke, which is fine. But the engine does run, does drive. Now on to the main issue with the engine. So again, timeline wise, you have to realize when I did the rebuild, I didn't have any lifter problems at the time that I knew at all. Like, there was no ticking, no nothing. It was just lower end. Now I have a severe ticking noise, hot. Cold, you really can't hear it much. And I've noticed through the oil cap, which I might show that, or I'm probably going to remove this valve cover just to see which ones are giving oil and what's not. I have a severe lifter tick, and when I did the first oil change on this, it's on its second, at 1,000 miles, I saw metal in the pan. I don't think that's lower end. I think one of the lifters is taking out the camshaft because it's a flat tappet camshaft. When I put this all back together, I did reuse the original lifters, but I put them back in the same spot hole they came out of, everything put back in the same spot because flat tappet camshafts are anal that way, and thought I was good. Probably should have used the zinced oil because I didn't, and it's probably my fault. But I have a severe ticking noise. I think a lifter is wiping out the cam, or vice versa, to where eventually I'll have a dead cylinder due to valve train not working. Right now it runs on all 6 decently well. I think the camshaft is just being taken out right now. Oil pressure's good, everything like that. You can't hear it cold, but you will hear it warmed up. I'll take it for a short drive to get it hot and circulating oil, and then I'll take the valve cover off and look at it that way. got one exhaust using oil. One intake, no. They're very slow compared to those three back there. That one's really slow. That one's pretty much nothing. That one's pretty much nothing. That one's got a good amount. That one, nothing. spinning good. That's barely spinning. That one's spinning pretty good. It's kind of barely spinning. That one's spinning pretty good. You can see that's spinning pretty good. That one's barely spinning. That's barely spinning. That one's spinning pretty good. That one's spinning pretty good. That one's spinning pretty good. One, two, three, 4, 5, go to 6. We gotta kind of have 6 lifters kind of being number 4 cylinder. There's nothing coming out of these push tubes, and they're barely spinning. They stop every once in a while. I bet you number 4 lobes are getting completely destroyed, and this one's not spinning at all. Barely spinning. That one's probably getting destroyed too. That's barely any oil. That's barely any oil. So a lot of these center ones are not getting any oil. Barely any. This one the worst. I can get some. I want to check these push tubes, make sure they're not clogged up. Other than that, I think this thing's going to need lifters soon. I'll probably just drive it the way it is until it starts misfiring. Number 1 makes noise. It's number 1 or number 2 making noise. Yeah. These back 3 are really good at giving oil. That one, very weak. None, none. Good. None, weak, 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 some, a decent amount. 1 seems to be okay. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All the middle ones seem to be pretty garbage. Alright, so I just pulled off 2 through 5 rockers and took the push rods out, blew air through them, they're all clear. Looks like I definitely have an oil delivery problem, at least on number 3 intake and 4 intake and exhaust. They're definitely not spewing oil out of them. So there's a problem with these. About 3 lifters, maybe more. It's not, but there's barely any oil coming out of there. And this push rod is barely spinning. It stops at times. That one spins decently. This one stops at times. It goes up and down, stops, and keeps on going. still pretty much up to temperature. That one's spinning decently. You probably can't see it, but I can. Less, at least a 3 lifter oil delivery problem. Like I said, I think what's going on is the lifter internally is going bad, which it probably is, but it might be also wiping out the camshaft right there. 1, 3, and 4. Maybe the others. Not totally sure. I think for the time being, I'm just going to run it. If it starts misfiring, I know why. And being that I only did the first oil change in 1,000 miles since the 2 months I was driving it, had a little metal in it. It could be excess from me cleaning the block out the best I could. After this oil change, I'll see if there's any comes out of it. If not, I'm probably still just going to run it. If so, still probably just going to run it. I might look around for a good core to actually do a build. And just run this one until it dies. Or see how long it runs. Because that 3 intake and 3, 4 exhaust, or 4 intake exhausts are the 2 really, or the 3 really not getting any oil. The rest of them can get decent amount of oil. One's kind of noisy up here. Or might be that. It's hard to tell. They're all kind of noisy. I definitely have at least 3 of a problem. Right now I'm just going to run it and see what happens. It runs on all 6. All it is a ticking noise. Seems to have good power for what it is. Yeah, I think I'm just going to run it and eventually just find a good core to do a stroker motor out of. Yep, that's the update of the engine. Just gonna run it. Other than a ticking noise, it runs fine. So, yep. Alright, see you next time.